Hello and welcome to the garden. Well, I'm in a bit of a quandary today because the weather has turned a little bit. I was kind of hoping that the warm conditions that we've enjoyed in the first half of April would continue on right through into May, and that would have allowed me to plant out all of the peppers, chilies, aubergines and the grafted tomatoes a little bit sooner than I might otherwise. And the thing is, the peppers have been going completely nuts. They're in propagators, so they're jammed up close together. That's not great. That tends to encourage some rather tall growth. I think they're all right, but they are jammed together, and I've got 3 tiers on the propagators, and even that's no good anymore. They've grown out of the top, so we can't put lids on them at night. We have to cover them with fleece, and they're only in there really so that the propagator can just keep the cold away during the night. During the day the lids are off, and I'm sure the propagators don't switch on at all. I've just got them set, I think, to 15 degrees. That will keep them quite happy during the night. I could lower that to maybe 12 and it would be fine. But they are bursting in their pots. They really want to be planted out or potted up. It's quite common, I think, to start really early, the peppers and chilies, but I wonder if next year I might shift that by a week or two, because at this time of year, unless we're in a warm spell, I'm just left trying to hold the plants back when they are raring to go. So that's a little bit tricky. The problem plant at the moment is grafted tomatoes. So I had remarkable success with the grafted tomatoes. When I did the last video, there was one that was definitely a failure. It completely flopped over. There was another that looked pretty dodgy, and I think 2 or 3 others that were borderline. Well, in the end, I only lost 1 plant out of, I think, 65, and that was fantastic. I don't suppose I will ever do any better than that. I lost 5 more when I brought the plants from indoors down to the greenhouse. I had the propagator on a trolley, and of course it slid off, and I broke a few, but not so many that it matters. But they are still in their small 7-centimeter pots, and they're looking okay. I'll give you a quick look. So here they are doing quite nicely. The growth is starting to green up nicely now. Of course, when they're young, you have to keep them a little bit shaded while they're still healing. Otherwise they will wilt and suffer. So the foliage does go a little bit sad and yellow, and of course they elongate a little bit as well, but now they are starting to green up and thicken up. They're looking absolutely fine, and I've got plenty of plants here, so I'm very happy with them. Now, I could have potted these on, let's say, some days ago. I've been checking them from time to time, taking one out and having a look at the root system, and I was hoping that I could skip the potting on stage and go straight into the greenhouse and polytunnel beds. If it were not for this little change in the weather, I would be doing that today, but unfortunately I think I would be better holding back the chilies and peppers and aubergines and potting these on. It won't be for that long. I think in maybe 9 days time I might be able to set them out in the greenhouse and polytunnel. So I don't need to move them into big pots, and then they're not going to be there for that long, hopefully. But let me show you one, and you can see the state that they're in. So what have we got here? Well, this is Belmonte. It's probably my favorite of them. It's a nice plant. it's a wee bit tall. That's probably because of the conditions these are in after they've first been grafted. The graft looks to have healed nicely, and of course this is properly healed now. I'm not going to take the clips off yet. They will come off naturally. I'll probably remove them when I plant them out, but they offer a little bit, I think, perhaps mechanical support there, which might be useful. But let me carefully take this one out of the pot, and you can see that there is quite a lot of root here now. This is not pot bound by any means, but it's at that point where it really wants to get in the ground or potted on, and I don't think it would be good for these with this vigorous rootstock to hold them back in these small pots for, let's say, another 9 days. I think that wouldn't be good for them. So I think what I'm going to do today is pot these on, and I've made a bit of space in the propagators. Space in these at this time of year, of course, is really precious, but we've moved some plants into one of the greenhouses where I've got a box there made out of twin wall polycarbonate, and that provides extra insulation. So some of the pepper plants are in there now, and I think some of the aubergines. It's not ideal, there's no heat there, but they've got that extra protection, and I think I'm not worried about frost now, but the tomatoes in particular, but also the peppers, they don't really want temperatures below 10 degrees. But I think inside the greenhouse, inside the polycarbonate box, they should be all right. Anyway, I don't have a choice, because once these are potted on, they need more room, and I've had to make some space for them. Anyway, time to get on with the job. So I've got an odd assortment of pots, but they're all plenty big enough compared with these little pots. And what have I got here? Oh, this is Canestrino de Luca. It's nice, it's got a nice graft on it. It looks perfectly sound. Quite happy with that one. It's a good performing little tomato, that too. So I've got a richer compost mix here. Bit of feed in here as well. Now, because these are grafted, I can't set these deep. You do not want to get the graft below the soil level there. So I will just very carefully tap this out. Yeah, and there's plenty of root down the bottom. This is a good time to move them on, I think. So I'm going to hold it by the rootstock very gently, and just get some soil around that, and yeah, there we go. Now they're not going to be in here long, but I think even just in 9 days, I wouldn't be surprised if that rootstock doesn't fill this soil out completely. It is quite vigorous, and although it's been a little slow to get going, I think now when you've got these new leaves on here, there's lots of photosynthesis, this is all young and healthy and vibrant. I think now those are really going to fly away, and it would be a shame, having got the grafts to this stage, to let them sit in these small pots. This is Cherokee Purple. Oh, it's not a bad graft on that either. And a nice root ball. It's definitely not pot bound at this stage. I just think that in a week's time it would be, and these could do with some richer soil, a bit of a feed up. They have a hard start to their life, these grafted plants. They are brutalized by that process. So I think now a little bit of care with them will be rewarded. This is Pantano. That's a great slicing tomato. Yeah, there's a bit of a gathering of root down the bottom of this one. Definitely wants to be moved on. I don't know how well this will show on the camera, but you might be able to see the graft union there. That looks pretty good to me. I think that's a very healthy joint. It's calloused over nicely. No sign of any problems with that. And I think I can see in the top there the start of the very first flower truss. So yeah, off it goes. I'll give these a good drop of water, settle them in nicely, and they should be happy here till the weather warms up. Well, that's a bit of a pity. I would have liked to have avoided this job, but I better get on with it. There's getting on for 60 plants here, so I should be left with quite a few spares, and when I come to plant out, I will select not only the right sort of mixture of varieties for us, but I'll also look at each and every one of the grafts, and I will pick all of those that have the better looking joints there. And I don't see any problems with any of the plants that we've got here now. I don't think I've broken any more. So hopefully there'll be plenty to get into the greenhouse and polytunnel soon. I just hope that this cold spell doesn't last too long. Anyway, that is all for this video. Thanks ever so much for watching, and bye for now.